Okay. Good evening. It is 6:02 and I am calling the meeting of the SAU 39 to order. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment?
One person as an attendee, but no hands raised. I'll put the little thing, the rules.
Okay, so I think we are moving on from public comment and to the consent agenda. So shall we just go through and see if there's anything that anyone would like pulled? April 2023 Treasurer Report. April 18, 2023 Draft Minutes. Accounts Receivable Module. Okay, we can pull that off. Number 4, 2023 007 Transfer Request. FY24 Board Meeting Schedule Draft. Enrollment Update. Facilities Update. Policy GBED. And the 23-24 School Year Calendar.
I'd like to discuss the calendar.
Oh, you would like to discuss calendar? Okay, we'll pull the calendar too. So, could we get a motion to accept the consent agenda with numbers 3 and 9 pulled for discussion? And so that was made by Ms. Lawrence, thank you, and seconded by Mr.
I'll
Crowe.
second. Oh, never mind. Good.
Thank you. All right, all in favor? Or any discussion? We already discussed. We're not going to discuss. So. All in favor?
Roll call.
And we have to do roll call because
yeah.
we have one online. Sorry. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Mr. Vayu,
Hey, yes.
let's come down the line.
Yes. Lawrence, yes.
Eckhoff, yes.
Gascoigne, yes.
Peters, yes.
Gothier, yes.
White, yes.
Billy Zimmerman, yes.
And Mr. Glover?
Glover, yes.
All right. Number 3, the accounts receivable module. You have a question? Ask one.
Okay. I think my microphone's on. So my question on the module, so that is coming out of savings from a position that we're not filling. Am I understanding that right?
So it is. It's being funded out of a position we didn't fill currently in this fiscal year.
Okay.
And then, so the installation costs are higher, but the maintaining costs aren't. So we have money in the current budget to make this move. And then the maintenance we will have in the next year.
Okay. But the position doesn't go away. The way you phrased it, I'm just.
So the position wasn't funded this year is what you're saying, but the intent is to fund that position next year. I think that's what Shannon's asking, right? Yeah.
So the only position that we didn't fund this year is the second assistant superintendent. So we restructured some positions, but we didn't not fund them. So the savings from a non-funded position is from the original, my position last year. But we have savings internally, as you'll see in salaries and others, that we have savings to fund this going forward. But we are slow to fill a position. We have the position, but it's actually an internal transfer from another school, and we have to wait until the suitable replacement is found. With any teacher position.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on number 3? Okay, let's move to the school calendar number 9 on the consent agenda. Mr. Glover, you mentioned you had some questions.
Yes, I noticed that the school year is starting after Labor Day, and I was also generally aware that, we have a desire to, look at our instructional time and such, and then we end our school year in the middle of June, and I'm just curious as to what was the driving factors in presenting an after Labor Day start, as opposed to getting rolling with some of the hey, how you doings before Labor Day so we could start after Labor Day in earnest.
So there was there's discussions with the local bargaining associations about the expectations that if Labor Day fell on a certain day, that we would start after. And so it's something that will vary basically when the calendar does. John, I can tell you that I received significant amount of positive feedback about starting after Labor Day, and not one community member showed chagrin at that, but I got multiple, thank you, we're finally starting at Labor Day again, thank you. I would say 5 to 10 comments on the calendar in that area, all positive about the start date after Labor Day, and no one chagrin.
Ms. Beam?
All right, I have the sticky one tonight. I'd like to also point out that ending a little bit later is much easier on our elementary families to find childcare, because when we end too soon, like we have the past several years, it's very difficult to get coverage in that kind of shoulder season before camps open up and other things are available. So unless you have Camp Grandma close by, it makes it very, very difficult. So I actually appreciate for our families and in the Amherst district, this is a much easier type of schedule to plan to. So thank you.
Any other discussion on the calendar? Okay.
So I just wanted to highlight that we're moving to an early release instead of a late start. Yeah.
And I think I gave the data in board
Yeah.
or the memo or something, that overwhelming. So we will be doing that. And one of the things that leadership, and we'll have to talk with parents about that, is last year when we did the early release, it was great for kids and it was great for teachers. The after school expectation of us having enough staff to run an after school program for childcare, it stressed our system last year. And so we'll have to work with parents. There has been some kind of expectation here that the district will run and support childcare during half days, either early or late. And keeping that has a significant impact on our ability to have high quality professional development, because it takes up almost an entire school. And so we do work with our after school vendor, and we will try to work with them. But as you know, it's hard to hire people and to bubble up those days and to make sure we have enough staff allocation. We'll work with Sauhegan to see if we can get some kids volunteering for some of it. But it is a concern, and I know Christine and I will meet with the Y folks and prepare, but communities, and we'll try and give them plenty of heads up that we may not be able to give every single person after school supervision for every early release just because of staff.
So I can ask a follow-up to that then. But you're saying the YMCA program would still exist, but it may be something like if you're currently enrolled as a steady participant, you would,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
It's
Yep,
a-
that's
it's a
fair.
bump, and we'll do whatever we can to help, and we want to commit, but we just may not be able to.
Okay, anything else on the calendar? Okay, then can we have a motion now to accept items 4 and 9 from the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Dan Vayu,
I'll second.
seconded by Ms. Lawrence. And we will again do a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Vayu.
Vayu, yes.
Beam, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Petkoff, yes.
Gascoigne, yes.
Peters, yes.
Gothier, yes.
White, yes.
Gulay Zimmerman, yes.
Glover, no.
Okay, clever no. Moving on to the budget committee selections.
So this is funky, and I apologize, it didn't transpose very well from my board notes. So this is really, we have the SAU Budget Committee members. We've already assigned those at our organization. This is just getting authorization from the SAU Board to begin our advertising for community members to serve on our wonderful SAU Budget Committee. And so if we can just get the sense of the board, and so you know that it's coming. Amy, we will start advertising and form the SAU Budget Committee, which was a very thorough collaborative process last year. It was challenging, appropriately challenging at times, but we want to start that and begin that process because there isn't a moderator as such. So we do it. You with me? You're picking up what I'm putting down?
Okay, and so we will need a motion from this board to begin advertising.
Yes, just to charge the administration to advertise for community members of the SAU Board,
Okay,
Budget Committee.
I can make that motion.
okay.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Gothier to begin or to authorize the SAU to look for the community members for the budget committee, and seconded by Mr. Vayu. And again, roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Vayu.
Vayu, yes.
Sorry. Boom, yes.
Lawrence, yes.
Eckhoff, yes.
Gascoigne, yes.
Peters, yes.
Gothier, yes.
White, yes.
Zimmerman, yes.
Glover, yes.
And I apologize, I just realized I did not ask if we had any discussion on that, so. Good, okay. So, moving along to the, superintendent report, Mr. Chamberlain.
I think I've said it often. I'm starting to obviously reflect more as we're getting close to the end of June. I just can't be more privileged and humbled by this group and this community allowing me to lead this district this year. It was a fascinating, challenging, complex, difficult year. I did the soup job at one district for 12 years. And we had so many one-offs this year that I never hit in 12 years of leading a small district. And I don't even know if I remembered I put it in, but my year started when Adam was out last year to really work on the union, the Sauhegan attempt at a union formation here, which was a significant complex. And there is another soup in the state that will ever do that. That's so rare. And then summer stuff and books and petition warrant articles and best interests. And I think I'm one of the few superintendents that is working with the ombudsman on a right to know complaint, and it's a brand new office. So it was, but I love to learn, and this allowed me to learn from extraordinary people. And I'll say it, I've kind of dropped the video, it's been crazy busy. My last video to this community, the community was incredibly gracious when I saw them. And there were, obviously, one of the biggest things I did in the community that interrupted their life was one, if you remember, I had a very difficult snow day call that actually came like at 7. And Christine remembers, and I got tons of feedback. But overall, this community has been incredibly gracious to me and the decisions and allowing me to come in and try to get to know them. I tried to just give you a flavor for the year. It is very complex, this place. 4 boards. But a lot of people said he can't wait, Mike's coming, can't wait. Absolutely to support Mike. But also, to be honest, with some sadness that I won't be your superintendent. Only because I really enjoyed it, and this board, all the boards, were so incredibly gracious and supportive. Because I think Tom said the other night, I put board notes out like the day before, and he goes, "Oh, I got them the day before." I mean, I'm giving you some supplement material sometimes hours before meetings, and I never even got a nudge of anything. Like a disappointment from you. I try to ensure that you're as prepared for these meetings as I possibly can, and you've never had a whisper of, "Steve, get going." And I just appreciate it. I just am very, very grateful. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent? Ms. Beam?
Yeah, first I wanted to say thank you for stepping into the breach, having some idea of what you were stepping into and still doing it, and really doing it beautifully. I know that you had, like you say, some who could have known.
Yeah.
Like, you're juggling the flaming chainsaws and thinking, all right, I'm doing pretty good here. And then suddenly, here comes the totally unexpected. I think you really kept a good humor and grace and honesty. We really appreciate your integrity and your spirit of being a lifelong learner. It's what we advocate for all of our students, what we ask our parents to be, and what we try to be as well. And I think that you were just really a model of that. And I know that that incoming superintendent Barry is so grateful to have you as a mentor and a partner. And it's made all of us feel like maybe we won't burn him out too quick because he has that support. So we're grateful for that too. So I'm very grateful that we have at least another year with you, and that you get to go back to some of the stuff that I know is really where your heart is being in the classroom more and dealing more with curriculum and sharing a little bit more of that with Christine and helping to really dive deep on that. And so just thank you for all that you've done for our SAU and that you will continue to do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions?
Just one thing I just noticed on the calendar, I didn't process the dates right. Early releases are now the third Wednesday as opposed to that second Tuesday.
Correct.
Okay.
And just to go back, I hope I wrote it in the memo. Statute says we have to align with the receiving CTE school. And so Milford, we do have kids going to Milford, and by statute, we can only be off 10 days. And if we didn't align with all the early releases, it would be a violation of the statute. So we actually checked the last minute. Abby checked for me with Milford. So if the community asks, it is by statute. Milford is the only school like us that do it. So we actually saved all the kids that go to Milford and CTE. We helped them. We align. Not only did we before they were late and we were early. Now we're our early. You know what I mean? And we align. And so those kids that go to Milford will have a much easier schedule on them. And I know it's not a lot of kids, but the statute says we had to do it, and we did it.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. All hearts clear? Okay, then we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a transition report from our superintendent team.
And Mike can certainly speak to it. I had a similar experience where I was a high school principal transitioning to the superintendency. And I remember, and I try to be as deliberate and purposeful with all areas of collaboration with Mike as I possibly can. Mike has been incredibly gracious about sometimes if things move pretty quick here and if I didn't quite catch it. But please know that the entire default budget development, Mike has been in the room, all personnel issues, and we've had some interesting personnel issues. He's been in the room, union relations, every meeting that we have that he hasn't, that I've updated him on it. We've been taking all security meetings, which is, I think, 4 at this point together. We've joined all those together. We bought a summer calendar. Mike's had lots of there, and we started planning what Mike's version of the 2 superintendent model, because I know that, Mike will lead the budget, the SAU budget piece, but there hasn't been a lot of sample size for 2 assistant superintendents in this role. Just so you know, last year, really after Christmas, I had transitioned to a superintendent, when the current one went on leave, and then there was lots of transition for me. But Mike has a vision and is starting to develop his vision about how Christine and I and Mike can work together. And he also is working on an implementation plan. But my job is to make sure I don't write any check that Mike has to cash. And we're working very closely together, very jointly. And I don't think I think you and I have been lockstep, Mike, in all major decisions that we've had. And not that I'm trying to put stuff on him, but anything that goes past July 1, the default budget, he's got to be there because, so anything that goes beyond July 1 and union relations and personnel issues could be on, I think he would, he can say we're pretty joint on all this stuff.
Do you mind coming up to the microphone? I'm so sorry. Whichever one you like.
No, I echo kind of what Steve said. I feel pretty comfortable about where we're at, the work that we're doing, trying to get organized for July 1. Something that I'll add to the conversation. We're fortunate in the sense that, I'm an internal candidate moving into the SAU role. We have an internal candidate moving into the principalship. And so after graduation, you'll see us both actively starting to kind of become more involved in the next roles as we take advantage of June, with people still being at work, people still being available for conversations, and to come line up what the summer schedule is going to look like. And we're just going to try to be as advantageous, with that time as we can. And we'll kind of report out on, as this is a transition plan, but we'll report out kind of like on the entry plans of both the incoming superintendent and the incoming principal as we spend June kind of getting those things organized. But no, I agree with Steve. We're set up with that. I'm involved in all the conversations that I need to be involved in at this point.
All right. Any questions about the superintendent transition? We're doing very well tonight.
Rolling.
All right. So we're going to move now into the security. And are you going to lead? Okay.
Mike, yeah, I'll leave it, but I want Mike to stay. And this will be, Mike and I have discussed, this will be a regular piece. This is now very deservedly so. It's on our consistent work. And just, I'm very pleased and proud of the work that we accomplished this year, including SAU-wide ALICE training, which was on the to list for multiple years, and we pushed that through the finish line. We've also formed a security committee, and also if at some point the board would like to have a board rep, SAU board rep to the security committee, I think that was brought up previously. That'd be wonderful. Not a problem at all. We are, and as Mike would say, and he can say, we're trying to look for some really early wins about meeting the needs and making sure we recognize concerns of the communities and making progress. So one of the areas, and so far we have met with our SROs, we have met with former members of our police department with intimate knowledge of our schools. We have more meetings coming, but we are trying to develop a plan, achievable plan that increases our goal is to have every student, faculty member, and parent and guardian feel safe, comfortable, productive, whether in school or about their children in school. And so we're looking at, and we can talk about more methods and procedures in non-public, but we're looking at appropriate hardening of our schools. We're looking at utilizing both our SROs at all our facilities in Amherst, randomly but regularly. We're also trying to, do we need more expertise? But I think with our SROs and our local people, based on the meetings that Mike and I have had, pretty comfortable with the advice we're getting from our local people. And we'll do some community awareness in the fall. Our security committee will take a look at, make sure the parents understand what ALICE training is and why we're doing it, and continue to roll it out to appropriately develop to appropriate students. One of the things that I've joined the board of a safe schools effort that works with Souhegan High School, and there's some good data about the importance of having an anonymous tip system. We had an old 746-2020 line in my old place, but kids don't call anymore. They don't dial the phone anymore, so it's a texting tip system using our student services. So we're looking at that, and also is there a way to have student services more in tune if there's some self-harm concerns. What was the first time that I've added to this memo, but it's really important, is how we're securing SAU 39 data. This came up to our real front of our frontal lobes, Nashua. Nashua was significant. Brian, I was real connected with Nashua, and everyone's trying to learn from the Nashua experience. So we have moved to another level of protection, an offsite cloud system, which is very important, especially Christine last, but we do have pestilence in this place. We have floods and we have fires. And we don't want to lose even if we have multiple locations on campus, we don't want to do that. We also, what happened at Nashua, it was someone clicked an email, and the email gave access to significant amount of data. And so it's very, very important. So we will have next year install regular email training, including some, like what happens, my wife, where she works, she got an extra 6 hours of training because she hit her second email that she wasn't supposed to hit. So we're going to just make sure we support with continued monitoring of that, and a multi-factor authentication. So we're looking at our physical plant, we're looking at the data, we're looking at our kids, we're trying to look at everything. But we really want to be responsive and continual improvement in this area. And ALICE training and stuff we're doing, I think we're in pretty good shape. Feel pretty good.
It's great. Does anyone have any questions about the security memo? Actually, we can hold any specific questions for non-public, and I'll let you vet if it's.
Okay. I was just waiting to be called on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Trying to respect the process.
Thank you.
So a couple things. You said you were willing to take a member of
Yes.
us. I would like to volunteer. I've actually done a lot of extra training, and I currently
Love it.
serve on our CERT team, and I have a strong interest in this and some low-level expertise. So, and lots of people that I know who we can ask questions of. So hopefully it could be a valuable resource.
Be great.
And so I don't have to be the only if anybody else has an interest. And I'm really happy to hear, although I do think we do a pretty good job with our data, to see an extra layer of scrutiny and planning. I work with some people in the Nashua district, and it has been a nightmare.
Yes.
I missed an IEP meeting that I wasn't able to get for a CASA, position that I support a child there. It's been so difficult just to communicate and to do just regular business, man, has been a nightmare.
Yes.
So anything we can do to protect ourselves ahead of having to experience that, I am very much for.
Thank you. Me too.
All right, and if you come up with any specific, oh, we got one here.
This has been a topic for Mount Vernon too, so I think we should have a representation and there should be open dialogue between all the boards versus just silos. It's got to be
Great.
all on the same page, and
Are you volunteering?
I can.
Someone-
It's important.
Oh, Peter would be great. We can talk. Yeah.
I mean, we got to be in the front of this for everybody, so.
Thank you. I appreciate your sense of urgency on it.
Great. I don't want to move too quickly. I think that has brought us to the end of our, we are ready for a, public input.
Yep. And then non-public's perfect.
Okay, so public input 2 of 2. There's no one here.
There's one on Zoom, but no hand is up.
Okay. So then public comment is closed.
It is closed.
And we are going to move into non-public under RSA 91A, 3, 2A, and C. Like, get that motion?
I'll make that technically, I think you need to keep that open for one more minute because non-public has to be
30.
30 minutes and you're at 29 minutes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We will sit here.
Sorry.
No,
Just keep
I
it.
can't believe it's only 1
Because
minute.
I'm like, I
All
think you have
good.
one more
And I
minute
actually think if
technically.
we're going to be technical, we started 2 minutes late.
So then, yeah,
So 6:30.
if you want to be a stickler.
No, I think we
policy,
should.
I think.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Mm,
As I look at the clock, I'm like, it's very timely, but
Perfect.
Since we have time, then I do have a quick comment and question on the security. First of all, thank
Turn your mic off.
Thank you. Quick question. Thank you for the security update. That's really helpful. I like the student-friendly tip system as well. That's great to hear. And I'm wondering if there's also a way, I know that some districts, as part of their policies, have listed, how a parent or a student or a staff member, the process for like filing a security concern with it. And I didn't see that anywhere in our policy. So I'm just curious if that fits into this security piece somewhere.
Good question. And we can look at our handbooks and how we do that. The tip was mostly, what we know is, for many, not all anymore, but there was a stage where, that really the violence, someone knew ahead of time and they just didn't share it with the right person. And so that's where it came from. Now it's a little bit different, but this was really about, see something, say something, that program. When we did, and when we had an active tip system in my past life, it was, eating disorders was one of the biggest tips, saying I'm worried about somebody because they're doing that. And we didn't get a lot of violence related tips, but all of it. That's why our student services will be receipts. And if there's concerns about someone, I'm worried about someone doing something violent, then they'll reach out. But regarding a flaw or a concern of our security measures, I didn't, we can think about that because, people have ideas.
It's been 30 minutes. Can I make your motion now? We have 30 seconds.
I
Are
think-
you on 32?
I'm on
Yep.
32.
All right, Steve is on 32, so you can make the
Make
motion
the
now.
motion, we enter non-public session.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Vayu, I saw first, and we will use a roll call vote. Mr. Vayu.
There you guess.
Beam, yes.
Lawrence, yes?
Eckhoff, yes?
Gascoigne, yes?
Peters, yes.
Gothier, yes.
White, yes.
William Zimmerman, yes?
Mr. Glover?
Glover, yes.